Welcome to my podcast, Cool Down with Abhay, where I bring in different people from the sports industry to come and engage in conversation with me so that you and I can learn more about the Indian sports ecosystem. Let's get right into it. Hey guys, hello and welcome to this episode of Cool Down with Abhay. Today, after all of my episodes, I've been getting a lot of support, and something that's coming really often is that I have to get a representation from the women's side of the sports industry. So today I've got on a woman entrepreneur with me. Her name is Vaidehi Vaidya, and she is currently the managing director and founder of Women in Sport. So let's get right into it and welcome Vaidehi. Hello.
Okay, you're back now.
Okay, welcome. I finished the introduction. Welcome.
Okay, good. Because it got hung up on your face, so I didn't know whether you were finished or not. But hi, it's good to be here, interacting with you a bit, and I think obviously I can share some insights into sports field, but moreover, probably as a couple of generations younger, probably I don't know. I might learn a lot from you as well. So I would like to make it like a interaction rather than you asking me questions. So I
Yeah,
might ask you
sure.
some questions.
Sure, sure. So, so how I typically start off my podcast is I ask my guests how they got introduced to sports. So, in your school or college days, did you ever partake in any sports?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an athlete. In my childhood days, I was a taekwondo player, 7 years.
Nice.
And as I enter, I've tried, tested, and tried a lot of sports. Right, I've been to cricket summer camps. I've learned swimming. Obviously, it's a survival skill, so you need to know how to swim. So I've done that. I've learned a little bit of badminton, but the longest sports that I have played uh, are taekwondo and then football. And
Nice.
football, I got introduced in my engineering years. Uh, the college that I used to go to, they had boys football team,
Okay.
and they had about, I think, two or three boys teams, if I'm correct. And these teams used to participate in different university events. They used to participate in states and nationals, universities, zonals, and XYZ.
Nice.
So I was wondering if I could also participate in these tournaments. But the issue was we didn't have girls team at that time,
Yeah.
and there was only one football club for girls in Pune, where I stay.
Okay.
So because I wanted to play football, I first joined that football club, and then I decided that I want to start my own college team as well. So
Okay.
that's where I started my footballing journey, per se. And then it took me to different places, and I came across so many different people. So I'm really thankful to that.
So, something I found out while doing my research was before you actually got into the sports world, you studied engineering. So, what was it like to actually shift from engineering to sports?
Actually, honestly, for me, it wasn't a big shift because I always knew that I wanted to do something different and not go for some 9 to 5 job. So even if I had stuck with engineering and did something in engineering, it wouldn't have been 9 to 5.
Okay.
It would have been something similar to what I'm doing, maybe research oriented or invention oriented. So for me, it was not a big change, but for my parents and my family was, because we as a society, or Indian society, we have, or Southern Indian society more so,
Yeah.
we have habit of settling down, early.
Yeah.
That means that you have to get a job in engineering field, or you have to get a job in medical field, or some field that is proven,
Yeah.
that what you're going to do later. So I think it was a not a shock, but it was tough time for my family when I took that decision, but they have been there with me. So I think that is the only difference that I would say that, yeah, I mean, I had in my life, as opposed to what I would have become as an engineer. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. But
Nice.
other than
So,
that, yeah, I don't think my life would have changed much if I had stayed in engineering field.
Okay, that's nice. So once you actually got the opportunity to go and study sports business, and when you finished with your course, your first role, you got to intern with UFR, right? So can you tell me a little about your experience there? I know that for people watching that, Vaidehi has actually written a research project for them, which is the evaluation of potential of women's football in India. So if you could share like a few insights that you got while doing this project on women's football in India.
Yeah, okay. So my course, which is Football Industries MBA, FIMBA for short, it has work-based projects for last 3 months. So you're supposed to do either internship for last 3 months or do your dissertation for last 3 months. And luckily for me, both the things combined. You know, I was always interested in women's football at that point, and I wasn't particularly looking for internship with the UEFA. I so we have this yearly visit to UEFA campus through our course, and during that time, I just inquired about how they handle women's football in Europe in general and what they do to develop women's football right from grassroots to professional level.
yeah.
And they kind of realize that I have this interest in women's football and want to do something in that field particularly. And when the time came to find a project, uh, obviously everybody was searching for a good one, and I also had a few more opportunities to look at in different UK clubs. But at that time, my gut was telling me to wait. And I waited, and I got a call from UEFA saying that there is this Asian company
Yeah.
and they want to do a project on women's football. Will you be interested in talking to them? And this will be funded by UEFA, basically. So obviously, I was intrigued and I immediately said yes, because this is something that I always wanted to do. It was a subject of my interest, and plus was UEFA was funding it, right?
Yeah.
So how can I say no? And I did it, and it took me back to my own country, India, and it made me travel across the country from cities to rural areas where there's no electricity. And I kind of realized that being a city girl, uh, we are used, or city people, I would say, we are used to having a lot of things and we take a lot of things for granted, right? But as you move away from cities, things are not so easy. And
Okay.
things are moreover not so easy for girls who are in those rural areas. So first shock for me was the attire, right? We in cities, girls often wear jeans, t-shirts, and when we are playing, we are used to wearing shorts and sports attire in short.
Yeah.
But as you move away from city, you will see that there are a lot of restrictions on the attire. So I realized that a lot of girls stop playing after hitting puberty because they are not allowed to wear sports attire. It can be shorts, it can be tracksuit. They are not allowed to wear that. They are only allowed to wear probably a Punjabi dress or sari to an extent. So
Yeah.
that is a big I won't say obstacle, but it stops girls from playing,
Yeah.
and it stops them from playing in an age where they are supposed to develop
Yeah.
their
Exactly.
sporting abilities. So I think that was a big shock for me. The second shock or second realization is, obviously India is diverse and our states are divided by language, which I'm really proud of. but sometimes it kind of hampers conversation between two players, right? So if somebody from South India and somebody from Northeast India come together in
Yeah.
a team, they won't be able to understand each other,
Yeah.
right? So that is one of the obstacles, or that is something that stops people from coming together and performing well, because if you can't understand each other on ground, how are you going to perform well? So that is something that I started thinking about a lot. So these are apparently small things, but they matter a lot when it comes to sports, right? So this is something I wouldn't have realized if I hadn't done that research. So I think doing that research was one of the best things that I did, and it kind of it's like a route to why I started Women in Sport India later.
Nice.
So it's like a fuel to what I'm doing right now also.
So I was kind of wondering. I was kind of wondering. So when you did this research project, it would have been before the IWL got introduced in India, right? So from that period of time to now, do you see any changes at least?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think lot of local leagues have started for women,
Yeah.
because I remember when I came back to India, this was about 6 to 7 years ago, I think, to 2013, so 7 years ago.
Yeah.
There were no leagues in Pune, zero, and there were about only 2 or 3 clubs which had women's teams. But now if you see, there is a league domestically or locally, and about 16 clubs participate in that locally, which is
Yeah.
substantial amount of clubs participating in a local league.
Wait, you have 16 teams in your women's league in Pune?
Women's league, and that too
Wow.
in one district.
That's more than our entire country league.
But if you go to Mumbai, you will see more number of clubs participating in women's tournament. I think Mumbai's league is one of the best in India, and because of this, women participation has increased, obviously. And then there are obviously a rise of IWL, which is good thing for women, and it is a great place for women to showcase their talent as well. And to my surprise, India has absolutely amazing women talent in football specifically. I've seen it with my own two eyes, and you will be able to see on a lot of platforms like ISL. They are broadcasting under 17 leagues. Um, you will be able to see how quick they are, how fast they move, how they plan their game properly and execute as well. This is something that I hadn't seen earlier. So in last 7 years, which is really a short period, honestly, um, I've seen tremendous progress in women's football and in women's sport in general. So there is.
So, speaking about football clubs in Pune, since you brought that up, I saw that you had also founded your own football club called Deccan Rovers Football Club, right?
Well, it's change. It I didn't found it. It was already there, but I started playing for it. I was one of the first ones to join the girls' team when they started.
Okay.
So the club was already there, and it was founded by my coach, who is a great mentor to me, Anil Deshpande, and his brother Sunil Deshpande, and there were some other people who were part of, who were founding members of the club. And this is one of the oldest club in Pune. But when we started women's team, I was the one of the first ones to be in that team.
Okay, so can you tell me what that experience was like?
Earlier, honestly, it was so hard to gather girls, uh, because because of the willingness of girls. You know, it's earlier, girls used to not like to play, if you know what I mean. Or rather, they were not encouraged to go out and play.
I feel like earlier people, like girls were so, like even the girls who wanted to play any sport, they didn't have the opportunity to play with other people, which discourages them from playing.
I think so. I think so. And even so, they had no platform to go and play, right? Because when I started playing football, there was just one club. Where else would you go? And
Yeah.
if Pune is a big city, right? So if you are staying at the far end of the city, you won't be able to come and play every day.
Yeah.
So there were not enough platforms, or other girls had no opportunity to see somebody like them who is playing,
Yeah.
for, let's say, college team or a club team. But this as the years pass, last 5 6 years pass, girls have role models now. Girls can see that women can do so much in sports, so they are inspired, they are encouraged to participate in the sports that they like. And I
Yeah.
think that is the reason why we see more number of girls participating in football now, because they see other girls playing it.
Yeah.
And in our football club, there are about 5 to 6 to 7 year old girls, which I hadn't seen before. I mean, in boys team, yes, there were so many kids, like children, 6 year old boys, 7 year old boys. But in girls teams, there were hardly young girls who were coming on ground and playing. But now I see that, because
Yeah.
they see older girls playing football every day.
Yeah.
So I think that is where I think things got a little bit easier when it comes to building a team. And now my club has about 60 to 70 girls coming on ground and playing regularly. So I'm really happy about that. And I see a lot of girls playing football every day. So yeah, a good thing, I think.
Nice. So, talking about role models, one of your personal inspirations is Bam Bam Devi, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. I had a chance to meet her, and she's a phenomenal woman. I mean, her story is worth a movie probably, because when she started, I had chance to meet her during my research. When she started, she was telling me that they had no girls club or girls team at
Yeah.
that time, and girls were basically not allowed to play football. But she wanted to play football, so she changed her name, she cut her hair, and she started playing as a boy in boys team, which is amazing. It's like a real life, what do you call that movie, She's All That, not She's All That,
She's the man. She's the man.
right?
Yeah.
Life, She's the Man, right? So I think it's phenomenal. And despite what she has achieved, she is so humble. She's so humble, and she's genuine, and she's willing to help other people. I think, yeah, I mean, when I met her, I was in awe of
Nice.
how good she is. And yeah, so yeah, yeah, you can call her one of my role models, definitely. Yeah.
Nice. So, after that, I think around 2015, you joined One Goal Asia, right? So, and I think you worked with Asian Football Federation with that.
Yeah, so my company, the company that I was working for at that time, Asian Football Development Projects, we used to basically work with different partners in Asia to develop football, and specifically youth and women's football. So through that, I started. So one goal was an initiative, joint initiative by AFTP and AFC, Asian Football Federation,
Yeah.
to promote nutrition through football, or rather, healthy diet through football. Because we all know that child nutrition is one of the biggest issue in Asia. So we
Yeah.
were trying to basically address that through football, and we were trying to encourage the education of nutrition through football. So everybody who was interested in doing that were our partners. So it was a very good experience, and also it was a very good cause. And I'm glad that I was part of it. I was part of that initiative.
And was this like Asia wide, or did you focus on India with that?
No. So this was Asia wide because it was a joint project of AFC and AFDP.
Okay.
So AFC is obviously Asian Federation. So yeah, I mean it was Asia wide thing, and we
Nice.
were, I think, more like strategic partners with AFC, and one goal had a different team, and we were kind of advisors to one goal in a way.
Nice. Okay, so in the same year, 2015, you were a member of FIFA Fans Forum. So can you tell me like how that whole process went, what it was like to be a part of
Okay,
it?
so FIFA basically wanted to get in touch with fans, and they wanted to know what more they can do to make football engaging. So in 2015, if I'm correct, I think so. So in 2015, they basically had a, what do you call, quiz or contest for fans to participate in,
Okay.
and they were going to choose a few fans from different countries where they see which they see as big markets of future, and they were going to invite everybody at FIFA headquarters. I didn't participate in that
Okay.
contest because I didn't know that there was such a thing, but they wanted someone from India, a woman probably, to share her opinion about what's happening in football from a women's perspective. So so they have good tie up with my university, and they asked around if they knew any woman from India who can contribute to the forum and who can share her point of views and her opinions. So that's how I got in the first FIFA forum, and it was a wonderful experience. First of all, FIFA headquarters is in Switzerland, so what's not to like about that?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, a great thing about that was that I met so many people, and almost almost 50% of them I'm in touch with still. They
Oh
were
wow.
just, yeah, they were just fabulous people, and as football fans they had so much to share, and they, some of them were actually working in sports, so that was something. And basically meeting different people from different countries and cultures is always been one of my favorite thing. Same thing happened when I was in UK and doing my MBA. My class was so diverse, and it made the course even better because I got to understand what their sport culture looks like, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing happened at the FIFA forum, and everybody had so much to contribute. And FIFA was also receptive, so they took down everything that we suggested, and they assured us that they are going to implement a lot of these things in coming years. So it was one hell of an experience for me. It was good to, yeah, I mean, it's always good to be part of something big.
Yeah, I can imagine. So after all of this, so now you've currently founded two companies right now, which are running side by side. That's Alter Ego and Women in Sport. So before Women in Sport, can you let us know what Alter Ego is?
Yeah, okay. So alter ego, in when I left my earlier job, alter ego was something that I wanted to do because during my time in India, after talking to different athletes, I realized that they need some help with their own promotion, or they need some help with developing their personal brand.
Yeah.
They need some help with creating stories and reaching people and sharing their stories,
Yeah.
right? Because unfortunately, many of them are not aware of these things. They are not aware of how to use
Yeah.
social media to their benefits. So I just wanted to help out, and so I started Alter Ego to do that. And I was working with various Olympic athletes. I was working with football players. I was working with few women athletes as well. which was an experience. But as the time passed, I decided that I want to focus on Women in Sport India more, because I was doing both things simultaneously.
Okay.
And I saw that I think women in Sport India is something that I love more than Alter Ego probably. But I didn't want to stop Alter Ego altogether. So what
Okay.
I'm doing right now is I've taken Alter Ego under Women in Sport India. So it is a branch of Women in Sport India. It is still going, but instead of having men and women both, I will be focusing on women athletes more,
Okay.
because it comes under Women in Sport India. So I haven't stopped that completely. It is just I've just taken it under Women in Sport India. So yeah, I mean that was basically the reason why I started Alter Ego. It was a great experience, and I got to work with some Olympic athletes, which is amazing.
Nice. So let's talk about women in sports. So this is something that you've started to help other women who want to get into the industry. I think both as an athlete or as in the management side as well, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about women in sports?
Okay. So when I completed my graduation from UK MBA, I wanted to connect with women like me who were working in sports field in India, outside India, because I was young and I needed some kind of guidance as to how do I progress in sports field, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was the reason why I started Women in Sport India, because I was searching for a platform which will enable me to get in touch with these women, but unfortunately there was none at that time. So then I decided that if there isn't any platform or any forum such as this, then I think I should start on my own. That way I can actually get in touch with these women. And as the time passed, I realized that our Indian sports needs structure, organization, because I think there are a lot of people working in sports in India, but it is all scattered. And same
Yeah.
is the case with women's sports as well. There are a lot of people who are working towards betterment of women's sports. It may be federations, may it be government, may it be some non-profit organizations, may it be for-profit organizations. There are so many people working in women's sports, but again, they are not talking to each other. There is a big communication gap between them, and that is why it'll take us more efforts to develop the ecosystem for women in sport. So to fill that gap, now I'm working towards that. So I'm working through Women in Sport India. I'm working towards building an ecosystem, or a communication channel where everybody, all faculties working in women's sports can come together and have a dialogue,
Nice.
right? So that is one thing that I am definitely doing. And the other thing is to encourage women on field, but also off field, because since 2016 Olympics, you will have seen a lot of women athletes are progressing. Their achievements are higher and higher and higher, right? So if women are progressing on field, they are going to need support off field as well. And this
Yeah.
support has to be women, because that demand is going to come from federations, from international bodies. They are eventually going to make it compulsory for a women's team or a women athlete to have support which is also women,
Yeah.
right? So we will need more women off field, and that is one of the things that I'm trying to encourage. I'm trying to encourage women to be on field, but also be off field. And at this point of time, since there are no hard and fast rules in sports field, because we are like a newborn baby, right? We don't know how to walk yet. So I'm trying to build a platform where I can guide these women with help of course, experts who have been working in sports field for a while, to help them and to mentor them, to guide them, find what they need to do want to do in sports life. So that is something that I'm willing to do and planning to do. A lot of things in the pipeline. Some of them I'm going to launch soon. So yeah, I mean, women in sport has become something of a what do you call it, a pet project, but something that can grow bigger in coming years as well. And I'm receiving so much support, and I'm receiving so much appreciation, which is very humbling actually, because then it adds more responsibility on you and kind of uh, it kind of holds you responsible for what you should do for other people, because you have promised them that you will do it for them. So yeah, I mean, that's where I am right now with women in sport.
That sounds really, really nice. So if for maybe young athletes who are watching this and would like to actually get that help, what kind of services do you like give in to assist those athletes? Like I know that you provide, I think, nutrition and psychology, right? And a few other things like that.
Yeah, so right now I am, which is going to be all inclusive. I'm going to add a lot of pages or a lot of portals on that platform where the athletes can access sports science services very easily, because many times it so happens that these athletes need a particular service but they don't know who to approach. So I think it's a good sports science expert um, on a platform, or it should be easy for them to approach them.
Yeah.
So I am trying to facilitate that, and I'm also coming up with a program for women who want to work off field of sports. So you will have seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn about what what do women want to do in sports. So the reason behind that is I'm trying to understand what their inclination is, and I am trying to build the program around that to help them achieve what they want to do in sports. So those two things that I'm definitely trying to do in 2020. There's a lot I can do, or there is a lot I want to do, but you have to start small. If you do everything together, then nothing gets accomplished, right? So I'm trying to bifurcate bigger goal into smaller steps. So for 2020, my target is to make women in sport financially independent.
Yeah.
I'm Second is athletes. I'm trying to help athletes to develop their plan B. What after they have completed their career as an athlete, they need to think about what they need to do,
Yeah.
because you never know what is going to happen. Can be an injury, it can be anything else, and then your career gets shorter, and then you need to have a plan about where you need to have a plan what you're going to do after, or if that happens. So that is something that I'm planning to do. Those two things are my 2020 focuses, and obviously a big plan is to grow in Asia and then in Africa as well, but that's like a 10-year plan. And I'm going to need to work so, and let's see what happens in India first, and then we can figure out Asia and other continents.
Nice. So your plan is to basically go global and conquer the continent, basically, right?
Yeah, of course, why not?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what kind of sports do you guys cover, by the way? Is it only individual sports or like team sports as well? How do you look for an athlete?
So women in sport is basically open to all sports. There is no limitation to any sport, and not just on field, but we are open to off field sport as well, like e-sport, for example. Because
Nice.
I know that e-sport is going to become, or it has already started becoming, one of the biggest industries in the world. and we can see that in India as well, slowly. People getting interested in esports. So I think it's about time that women get into esports as well. So that is also an area that we are looking for actively, and it's one of my personal favorites. Although I don't play esports, but I think I am excited about where the industry is going with esports and commercial aspects of it, basically.
And I think considering what's happening in the world right now, moving to esports would be so good because everybody is on their phones right now.
And it is exciting. It is
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. If you see tournaments, let's say in East Asia or America, uh, the way or the attention that they get and the prize money is insane.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see that happen. And it's just, I mean, Red Bull, I think, sponsors a lot of esport athletes. A lot of these big companies actually sponsor these athletes, and they are treated as any other athlete. So it's just phenomenal to see that, and it's just exciting, I think. So I think we should definitely look at esport.
Something that's really cool that I found out, I think, like less than a week ago. I'm not sure if it's BMW, but some high like model car company like BMW has literally converted their entire marketing budget and put it all into esports during this pandemic.
How
That's
about
how much of a
That's amazing. That's
exactly?
amazing. It's bound to happen, right? And NBA is also coming up with their esport game, I think. So I think all the big industries, football already has an esport. And NBA is coming up with one. I think cricket should already do that soon. So all these big sports industries, are coming up with their own version of esport. So I think it's a very good space to be in. It's going to grow fast. It's going to grow fast, is my prediction. And I want to be in that field. I want to be relevant to that field, and I like esport. It's amazing.
that's nice. That's really nice. So, Vaidhi, as a woman entrepreneur in sports, right? So it must be kind of different for you because it's an industry that's dominated by guys like everywhere, right? Working with football, especially from what I've seen. So can you tell me what has your experience been in that sense? Has it been hard? Is it been okay or what?
Actually, I've never been discriminated on the basis of gender ever, honestly. Because if you're good at what you do, there will be people, women who are trying to make it in sports are at sports industry in general has started accepting women to be part of it.
Yeah.
Big time. Media is giving them enough attention. Um, Federations have started realizing that women athletes are worth a dime. And they have started putting in money. They have started putting in efforts into their progress. Uh, the top experts, the top male experts have started realizing that women are equally good and they have a bright future. So they have started supporting women off field as well. So I think for women, it is a good time to be in sport. And yes, it is male dominated industry, obviously, but then that is an opportunity because everything you do in that male dominated industry is going to stand out.
Yeah.
Because imagine 99 boys playing football and one girl playing football among them, she is always going to stand out. Everybody is going to look at her. So I think women are at an advantage. And people keep on saying that there are no women who are as good as maybe obviously great people like Joy Bhattacharya or somebody like Madar Tamane. These are amazing men who have done great things in sports industry, and people keep on saying that there is nobody who is comparable to them as a woman.
Yeah.
But then that is an opportunity. You can be that person right now. You can be somebody like them. And honestly, they are willing to teach you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They are great mentors. They will never say, I won't tell you anything. They are open to it. I think it's time for us to learn from them because they have been in industry for a while. So where I am standing from, I think women have, this is an opportunity for women, especially in India and worldwide as well, because only recently has the world started opening to women's football, even in Western countries. I'm
Yeah.
not just talking about Asia, but in Western countries as well. Just now, women's football league has started getting attention. Just now, WNBA has started getting attention a lot more than it was before. So I think this is a great time to be in the field, and it's you should not waste this opportunity. Absolutely. So that's what I think. Might differ from anybody else.
So actually, when you're talking about women's sports and the huge strides that are happening, just this year we were supposed to have the Women's World Cup. Then after that, the Asian Women's League was also going to be in India. So there's such huge steps we're actually making, and our Indian national team ranking in the women's team is way higher than the men's team, and I think we'll see them in the World Cup before we'll
Yeah,
see.
and if you look at overall viewership of uh, World Cup in 2017, right? The
Yeah.
Women's World Cup in UK was in 2017. So if you look at the viewership of 2017 World Cup and the recent T20 World Cup, there's like 700 million views
Yeah.
of the matches, and compared to 100 million views of 2017 World Cup in like 3 years, that is exponential increase in viewership.
Yeah.
And I remember I was reading about viewership of PV Sindhu Olympic match. 65 million people watched that silver medal match. So it's just phenomenal where women's sport is going in general. So I think no better time to be in this field. Absolutely. If you're a woman, you want to do something in sports, be in sports right now. 10 years down the line, you may not get that chance. And
Yeah.
obviously 10 years before, you did not have that chance. So I think this is the best time for people to be in. Yeah.
That's great. So, for the young women who might be watching this video, do you have any advice for them who getting into the sports industry, how to approach it?
Yeah, I would say talk to people. I think there are a lot of good platforms, social media platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook even, and and there are a lot of people who actually do respond to your messages. So if you're really interested in doing something in sports, start talking to people. That way you will realize what your liking is, because there are a lot of different sports fields. It can be sports marketing, it can be sports sales, it can be operations, it can be data analytics, so on and so forth. So, or sports sciences for that matter. But you need to know what you want to work in. So there are a lot of experts who are very active, and this is the time when you should approach them, because everybody is pretty much free because of obviously being locked up inside their own houses.
Yeah.
So I think the girls should start talking to these experts to understand what they do, how they do it, or how they got into their own field. So I think that is something that they should start doing it without stopping, or without what do you say, being embarrassed of getting in touch with them, or without thinking what they will say, will they reply, you just start messaging these experts. Some of them will reply, some of them won't, but it's very important for you to talk to people. I think having education in that field uh, will maybe help, but talking to people will help more. And I'm there always. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I don't know a lot of people in sports industry, but I know some people in sports industry, so I'll help out as much as I can. And obviously, through Women in Sport, I'm coming up with programs for these women who want to do something in sports. So that is also an option.
So I'll end here, but I have like one last question to ask you, which I thought would be interesting. So, what, from your experience in working in the sports industry, what has been the best feeling or best thing that you've learned from it?
Right. So I haven't experienced the best feeling yet, honestly. Um, I don't know if I will. I can't guarantee that. But I think sports has taught me to be patient and to not give up, because it's hard to be in sports industry. It's hard to find your own way in the sports industry because there are no rules. There are no regulations. There's no set path for anybody who enters sports field. So it's hard, and it is going to take time. Uh, but you have to keep on, and you have to struggle, and you have to be mentally fit and strong to be in sports field, because it's going to slap you right and left, honestly. um, yeah, I mean, that has been my experience. You're going to have to listen to million no's before you hear one yes. And it's a thumb rule for anybody who has achieved anything in their life. They have had to listen to a lot of no's. So it's definitely a learning experience, but it is going to be frustrating at times. It is going to be tough. It is going to be sad at times, but you have to push yourself through those feelings, because eventually it pays out. You have whatever you have done, whatever I have done in last 7 years, I think it has just started to pay out. So imagine, it took me 7 years to realize what I want to do in life, and to hear my first yes. uh, so it's a tough life, so be prepared for that. I think, but yeah, I mean, that has been my feeling. But I think at the same time, that sports has taught me not to give up. I've always been an athlete. If you are an athlete, you will know what I mean. It just, yeah, I mean, you fail so many times, you lose so many matches, right? But you have to play the next match again. You have to get up and train and play the next match. So uh, best feeling, not yet, but lot to learn, so much to learn. Yeah, so that would be my answer, realistically.
That sounds really nice, Vaidhi. So I just want to thank you so much for having this conversation with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I think people are going to learn so much about your journey, and hopefully it'll be helpful to them as well. And yeah, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Abhay. It was fun, and like, it was a very comfortable conversation. And I shared a few things which I hadn't shared with anybody.
Oh yeah,
Well, not because they were secrets, but never had the chance to share them. So thank you for that.
that's awesome.
I had a fun talking to you. Yeah, fun talking to you. Definitely.